Good Monday afternoon, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now, coming on the air to a severe thunderstorm warning for the Tallahassee Metro until about 4:15. I know we're seeing some movement off toward the west, some formation off toward the north and the west, really. That's getting it closer toward areas there in toward Tallahassee proper. I know we're watching the airport, we're watching areas there around Florida State University there, Florida A&M, also Tallahassee State College. So we got to be careful here. I know, some students, maybe out and about here. Don't want them to get caught off guard. Just folks in the community. I know we have Governor Square Mall here into this warning as well. I know the warning was for a severe thunderstorm located over Woodville, and we just have a cluster here of some wind energy that's embedded in the activity. So we really got to be careful here this afternoon. As we're looking at the situation. I know right here on the radar you have the cone of silence, so not gonna be able to see very well as this kind of forms in that direction here more than likely, but we just have to be kind of careful here with the situation. I know in the last hour, Woodville area, maybe not as much rain showing up yet on the radar estimates. They're adding in now, but further down in the northeastern Wakulla County, 2-3 inches there, even in the north part of Jefferson County. So that's kind of the storyline as we're looking there in Wakulla, Jefferson, and we're just going to have to continue to watch the situation. Got to watch out for some flooding as well. I know we had a few flash flood warnings yesterday across the region. As we're looking at the scenario, I know we were tracking north-southeast Georgia flash flood warning. We also had one for Duval County, and that one was rather short-lived. We had one up there towards southwest, south-central Georgia, that vicinity as well. So just important to kind of continue to track things here as we're looking at. Let's go ahead and kind of pull up some cameras there as we're looking around US 319. Let me go ahead and kind of get a view here of the situation. We'll try to see how the skies look. So we'll try to go to Capitol Circle Southeast and Woodville Highway, and you'll be able to see some dark skies. So we'll go ahead and show that to you now. You can see what I'm talking about here. Some of the darker skies at the top of the screen there. So make sure you're inside and away from windows if you can be. I know some folks just have to be out and about. It's summertime and this stuff happens a lot more frequently. And, it'll just kind of pop up on you versus a squall line or a hurricane, tropical storm. You can kind of plan for as we're looking there. But in this type of situation, or even just a severe weather day, in the spring when you have maybe even isolated storms, but along with maybe a squall line, something like that. But this type of stuff will just kind of pop up on you. It's hard to plan your day or week around it because there's going to be, chances a lot here in the summertime period. Just watch, make sure we don't have anything crazy come from the clouds here as we're looking at things. I can't see anything really definitive. Maybe a little bit of something trying to hang down if you look, but it's not anything, anything definitive whatsoever as we're kind of looking here at the situation. So again, that's kind of trying to tell that weather story that starts to get in toward the metro area here. The severe thunderstorm warning until 4:15. So again, just going ahead and giving you guys the very latest on what's going on. I'm going to check some of the power outage numbers. I don't think they're going to be too much yet in the vicinity there. See, it looks like, just a handful of folks out between Leon and Wakulla counties, but this warning does include portions of Leon and Wakulla till 4:15. I'm going to go back to velocity here, now being right at the radar, I suspect some of these winds are even higher than like 40 miles an hour in what it's showing here as we're tracking things, as we're monitoring things here. These winds are probably even a little bit higher than that as we're kind of giving you guys the very latest on what is going on. So again, we're just trying to keep you guys safe, just trying to keep you guys informed here as we're looking at things and as we're tracking things here. That's what it's all about here at Clouds Weather, trying to keep you guys safe, keep you guys ahead of the storms. Again, we're looking right now at velocity. We're looking at the velocity mode here on the Doppler radar as we try to keep you guys up to date here. We're seeing some of that wind energy work its way in toward the metro. So we got to be really cognizant around US 319, around State Road 263. That's the airport right in here. You have the cone of silence, but some of this I'll try to put it in a looping mode. So this might, help you guys understand it just a little bit better here. You can see some of the boundary acts in there and some of the storm formation right toward Tallahassee there, the capital region there as we're tracking things. Okay, we're getting word now toward the east. We have a flash flood warning now for parts of Duval County. So let me go ahead and see what that is showing here. So we now have two warnings, one in our Tallahassee zones, one in our Jacksonville zones here. So let's see, this been issued, so it hadn't quite popped up in this source yet. We just got a flash flood warning. We have some of these storms that aren't moving all that fast here. And this can kind of be a problem here. That can be a problem as we're looking at things, some of that action in the Tallahassee region there. As we're tracking the situation. And now some in the Jacksonville region. So this is a flash flood warning now at 5:15. I know that action on Leon O'Culloh only 10 miles an hour, and the storm formation, kind of progressing some more, out ahead. That just gives you an idea that things aren't moving all that fast. The steering currents, around here kind of helping some of this stuff stall out. So some areas don't get much rain at all, in a while, and in other areas they'll get just a whole pile of it. And we do have a flash flood warning at 5:15 for central Duval County. So I know severe thunderstorm warnings out toward the west there. That's the precautions for those. But then a flash flood warning in play as we look towards central Duval County. At 3:44, Doppler radar indicated thunderstorms producing heavy rain across the warned area. Between 1 and 2 inches of rain have fallen. Additional amounts of 1 to 2 inches are possible in the warned area. Flash floods are ongoing or expected to begin shortly. I know yesterday had some issues toward Duval County. It was a situation rather short-lived, but, impacting some vehicles. But today, more folks out. It's a weekday. You would think more folks would be out, and we could have some concern around McCoy and Hogan's Creek there, according to the Weather Service there. I know, we have Jacksonville, Riverside, San Marco, Ortega, Normandy, but then from McCoy Creek, this includes the intersection with the flash flood potential, McCoy Creek Boulevard and King Street. These are areas that have the potential, to flood maybe a little bit more often. They're more vulnerable, more susceptible. It's an urban area, and water's not going to go down as quick, and this much rain in a short period is a problem. And then for Hogan's Creek, this includes North Market, North Newman's, Hubbard, and Orange Streets near Confederate Park. So this is the information that's coming on in here from the Weather Service. So a flash flood warning. Some of these reds indicate 2 inches in an hour, and these are in urban areas. You have all that concrete around. Things are going to drain. You have more folks on the roads, and then that could all of a sudden lead to some vehicles stalling out. So turn around. Don't drown, but even just, maybe a little bit more basic way of saying this, pattern, if it's not quite to that level for the most part, you just want to make sure you turn around so you don't stall your vehicle out and have major damage where you have to make that insurance claim, or, have a situation here where your vehicle could even be totaled because of it, really getting embedded there into the flood waters. So you don't want to deal with that here as we're tracking things. So again, just trying to give you guys the very latest here on exactly what is happening as we're looking here. So that's our flash flood warning. Let me go ahead and take you back to the severe thunderstorm warning for Tallahassee now. I know these are both in metro areas, so a lot of folks being impacted here. You see some of that wind kind of progressing there as we're looking there toward the more populated zones kind of developing and moving further off toward the north and the west. So again, we got to be cognizant of that here this afternoon. See if we can get some traffic cameras pulled up. Let's look toward FAMU, Adams Street, Magnolia Drive. Let me go ahead and pull a camera up there. This is a live look on the Florida 5-1 perspective. It's kind of looking off toward the east. You can't really see the sky, but you can see all the wet roads there. And that wind kind of shaking the camera some. This is again toward Florida A&M there, Adams Street and Magnolia Drive. So again, just continuing to give you guys the very latest here. This is there toward Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. So again, just trying to give you guys the latest on exactly what is going on here. So yeah, I'm just trying to keep you guys safe. I'm just trying to keep you safe here. Let's go ahead and keep looking here at the scenario. See some of that wind kind of spreading on in a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and jump back over toward Duval County where we have the potential for a rapid water rise now toward the metro, toward downtown Jacksonville. Let me see if I can get any cameras up around San Marco. That'd be helpful if we could. We'll try to look at that rapid water rise. We have two different weather stories, two different parts of the area. We started off with a severe warning for Leon McCullough, but now we're talking about this flood potential into toward Jacksonville. We had some of this yesterday, not today. Though, more folks potentially on the road and being impacted here. We already had the antecedent rainfall yesterday. So let me go ahead and kind of see what we're dealing with. This is the I-95 Atlantic Boulevard on-ramp. Looks like some stranded, folks there on the road. If you look real closely, there's very little movement in a clustering right now. Is what it appears in one part of this shot. So hopefully, they'll be able to get moving soon. I don't know if that's because of the water or just an accident. Could be because of an accident and the storminess, something to that level, that impact. Again, I'm just trying to give you guys the very latest here on what's going on. Just trying to give you guys the very latest on the situation here at 3:52 on this Monday, on this last day of June, the last day of the quarter here. Some folks, it's the last day of their fiscal year, so, having to work and the like. As we're looking and tracking things, I know Independence Day is on Friday, that 4th of July. It could be wet. Still kind of uncertain on that. We have a tropical entity that may develop, subtropical, tropical, something like that, 20% chance. So, we'll try to have more on that in the days to come. It's still uncertain. I don't cancel any plans yet, but, it could be wet at points, but it's still kind of iffy. As we go ahead and continue to look here at the situation toward Duval County here. Let me move off of that view as we try to give you guys the very latest on exactly what is happening. We're just trying to give you guys the very latest on the ongoing situation. And we're just trying to kind of let you guys know what we're dealing with. Ever evolving. Let's take you here another view of the situation. This is going to be I-95 and MLK/20th Street Expressway. See very slow movement on the road. I don't know if it's because of an accident, because of the flooding, that could be taking place on roadways, or it could just be, some maybe combination of some different factors here as we're getting close to that rush hour. But again, we're just continuing to give you guys the very latest here on the situation. There's a flash flood warning for Jacksonville, a severe thunderstorm warning for Tallahassee. It's a situation here where we're looking at things. I know we're always on for any tornado warnings storms in the 62 counties, but we use our discretion here for the other impacts. I know we were out of the studio here for a little bit, but we're back in it now as we give you guys the very latest. Last week we, didn't have too many live updates, but we were posting things on the platforms. Didn't have any tornado warnings or anything. We'd have been on immediately for those, but we're always on for any tornado warnings storms in the 62 counties. But generally, Severe thunderstorm warnings, flash flood warnings, using our discretion, and we're on right now because we have one of each. One severe thunderstorm warning for Leon area and parts of McCullough, and then the flash flood warning for parts of Duval County further off toward the First Coast region. So again, just trying to give you guys the very latest on exactly what we're dealing with here. I know in Bradford County where I'm at, that's the region that's in yellow. We picked up a 1/4 inch of rain today. We picked up about 1 inch of rain yesterday. We really needed the rain where we're at. Some spots getting a lot more in other days. We hadn't really had that much and started getting some, not great for some folks and, outdoor plans and the like, but we really do need precip, because of that fire danger that's been lingering. The more rain we get, the better, really. And then we have, a whole bunch of lightning with it compared to what we could have had. We had some rumbles of thunder, but, we want that without the lightning if we can. Don't want flooding. We could have quite a bit of rain that's showing up in some of the models ahead in the days to come across the region, maybe more so toward the West Coast, area there, but we South Sea, the Gulf Coast, but we really do need that precip, so, we don't want, sometimes too much of a good thing, though, can actually be a bad thing, but we do need that precip in general, but we don't want to flash flood, obviously. That warning goes to 5:15, by the way. As we're looking for parts of Duval, it could get dropped early if this kind of lets up. It's letting up some. I'll back it up. You can see, yeah, it's kind of slacking off some and drifting off toward the north with some of this, with this overall pattern. I know I'm just seeing that there's already a risk here. This isn't great at all. By the way, okay, a couple of things we need to talk about the imminent, and really not just the imminent, but happening right now type of scenario. And that's a report of flooding there 4 miles northwest of Talleyrand in Duval County. Streets and lawns flooded near Lim Turner Road, 4 miles northwest of Talleyrand. A flash flood being reported there. Streets and lawns flooded there near Lim Turner Road. But the other storyline, this came up in here. We have a flash flooding risk already, a day 5 slight risk, a 2 out of 4 for the 4th of July. That's not what you want to hear, obviously. That indicates, chances of rain are increasing here for that 4th of July here, according to the Weather Prediction Center. Now, I will say, though, I see it pop up all the different weather services that we have. All of our counties except one are in Jacksonville, Tallahassee, Levy's, and Tampa, but all of them have a slight risk for part of their area. But let me say you this. It's actually, it sounds worse, and I see it pop up, and it makes it look worse than it actually is, because I'll show you what I'm talking about on our other source here. So bear with me. You're really worried, about how will those 4th of July plans be impacted, especially the 4th of July on a Friday. Everybody wants to go out and enjoy fireworks, because most of you don't have to get up the next day. That doesn't always happen like that. Now, if it doesn't work out Friday for fireworks, maybe you can do it Saturday night. It's hard to say at this point if it'll be better or worse, but maybe at least you have a couple different options there. Possibly, maybe even Sunday night if it gets to that, but that kind of pushes it because you have the work week coming up after. But you want to have a chance for fireworks there, and right now it's hard to say. Some folks will probably be alright, some probably won't. It's really hard to say, but let's go ahead and see this. The source, this is our Weather Prediction Center excessive rainfall outlook of day 5, slight risk, but again, the reason all the weather services came up with a slight risk is because it's just a little bit of the Tallahassee, a little bit of the Jacksonville, and more so than the Tampa area with the threat for some more flash flooding on, that 4th of July. It's a little more concentrated there from includes Cedar Key. I'm sure that gets into Dixie County, probably some of Marion County. There's a marginal flash flooding risk even up in historic St. Augustine, Tallahassee. So based on this, and I got to look at the models more, this can change. Right now, if you're in that yellow, I would say it's time to start, getting them, the alternative plans together for, cities and the like for those fireworks shows. Really start coming up with contingencies if we're going to have problems for Friday night, because the more likelihood of problems, there was just a washout potentially. And that yellow, that's a there's a decent chance there of a washout. I know they can't even issue a high risk this far out, so this is already a 2 out of 3 per se for the flash flooding for Friday night. So really, just a handful of our zones here. You really need to go ahead and have those alternative plans. If the confidence increases a little bit more, then you have to kind of put those into action, but we're not there yet. But that's, the yellow areas. You go ahead and start, really honing it. It includes a lot of popular areas along the Tampa coastline there and the Tampa TV market. Not as much in our area. That only includes like Levy and some Marion, really like Cedar Key and maybe Horseshoe Beach and some of those areas down there. I know they've had so many hurricanes, they really don't want to have any more weather impacts, impacting fireworks shows. I don't know which places have them and which don't down there, but yeah, that's the area in our viewing circle that it's time to really start looking at things about having alternatives there, depending on what fireworks shows are in store. But the green, just monitor. I mean, you can think about what you're going to do, but we're not there yet with, needing to really have those alternative plans ready to go. But obviously, be thinking that's how it works in emergency management and the like. So let's go ahead and move away from that for right now as we continue to track the situation here. Continue to give you guys the very latest on what's going on. I know we're trying to keep you guys safe. We're trying to keep you informed. It is 4:01 here on this Monday, June 30th, 2025. Some flash flooding reported up here. A little surprising considering what I'm seeing, but I don't see quite as much rain up there. But based on that indicator, some of that flooding just off of I-95 there in that area. We had the severe thunderstorm warning further west. We had a gust there in the 40 range toward Tallahassee Airport. I see there's been an advisory issued for parts of Leon, Gaston, and Liberty until 4:45. It should pop up here. Now, that was an old one that I popped up for a split second. But okay, so they've issued this further west. I was kind of hoping it would cover areas further east and knew they could drop the warning at 4:15, but that makes me think they're not really in that, spot right now with what they're planning. So again, just trying to continue to give you guys the very latest on the situation. Looking toward State Road 263 and 319 and the like there. Just trying to keep you informed. And we're looking at the Doppler over in Leon County, but let's go over to Duval County with a traffic camera for a moment. Telling that whether stored is toward Gothair Boulevard there. I-95, mile marker 354.7. Not ideal weather conditions. Again, just trying to look at things. Trying to track them. Just looking at some different modes here. Let's go ahead and look at Adams Street and FAMU Way on the traffic cameras. Trying to give you guys a visual on what's going on. That was a quick look at that. Looking at some more cameras here behind the scenes, trying to figure out where we want to go next. Bear with me. Just just a one-man band, so gotta kind of figure this out on the fly. Let's go ahead and pull up this motor. Now there's some students there at FSU right now, and this is right there on the edge of campus there. The old University Inn is where they're doing construction now. Build a much bigger building. And then McDonald's is just off the screen on the left there. This is Tennessee Street. They're at Dewey Street. And you can kind of see here, a little bit wet looking, not overwhelming though at this point. Let's go ahead and keep looking at things here. Okay, we're getting a special weather statement now toward Jacksonville area. They're saying there's some weak rotation, so let me go ahead and jump on over there. Special weather statement. We'll see a lot of rotation, but maybe a little bit there. Somewhere up, actually, okay, maybe a little bit. It's further up, okay. Oh, I see what they're saying. Okay. It's that area further up then, not right into Jacksonville. They're saying landspout possible. If that were to strengthen, they may need to go with a tornado warning, to be quite honest. Right there on the Nassau and Charlton County line. It's a little bit concerning. Sometimes they get these boundaries to come together. Storm acts, and you see the boundary right there. You know, that can be a problem. That can spin up a quick tornado. This is right there near the Nassau and Charlton line, the Florida-Georgia border. That is from 405. That is from 403. They don't quite match up right, though. So that's probably why they haven't issued a tornado warning on this. That is definitely some rotation. They don't quite match up, but there's some wind energy in there nonetheless. Maybe went to about 45 miles an hour here just east of Folkestone. But we have some rotation here right there. I mean, that's winds of 60 to 70 if it was rotating down toward the surface. I mean, that's right on the boundary, so it'd probably be kind of hard at landspout. That's what they put in here, and I would say something like that. You know, be more likely if you had a situation here, you know, like that. So a tornado maybe not happening, and then, you know, landspout instead, which really would be winds that are not quite enough to call it a tornado. It's kind of a tornado, but not enough for a tornado warning here. So I know that's a little bit odd, but that's just how it works there. And we have that flash flood warning still for Duval County. You know, every day with these storms, you have a different storyline, you know, in towards certain spots of the area at least. Again, trying to give you guys the very latest on what's going on. It is 4:08 here on this Monday. Looking at 1 hour rainfall here. You see some of these whites and grays here. Indicative of 3 inches of rain there in southeastern Leon County. That is pretty significant. And then we're looking toward Tallahassee Airport. And that gust there in the lower 40 range. Let me go ahead and jump back to the Jacksonville radar right now. See our flood report there, flash flood report. Streets and lawns flooded there near Lim Turner Road. Just west of 95, though we have a little bit of weak rotation. It kind of broke up, I think. That's how these are in the summertime. You get a little bit of spin on the boundary, the line. That broke up north. I saw a little something. That's west there of Woodbine. That's not that impressive right now, but we'll watch it. Again, just continuing to track here. Just continuing to track. We have this warning for another 6 minutes for Tallahassee, for FSU, for FAMU, for Tallahassee State College. Right at FSU, it hadn't been near as nasty as it has been just to the south. You zoom in there, there's Doak Campbell Stadium. The worst just generally stay just to the south. We have some lightning though in the vicinity whenever thunder roars. You want to go indoors, obviously. And another lightning later, but again, just trying to give you guys the very latest on the situation. I know downstate we have a severe thunderstorm warning, not in our area, but let me just go ahead and set it to you real quick down toward Collier County. This is around Everglades and the community of Copeland there, Jerome. Those communities there being impacted. Chokoloskee, we hear about that in hurricane season with the different alerts sometimes. And there's a severe thunderstorm warning downstate there. So, Collier County, inside the 60-mile-an-hour winds. Now, our severe warning up north and toward our area, it is for just the wind and not really the hail. But torrential rainfall is occurring with this storm and may lead to flash flooding. Do not drive your vehicle through flooded roadways. Now, being right here at the airport like this, with the radar, I don't necessarily see quite as strong of signatures here, on the storm accident anymore, but it may depend on the actual reporting from the airport and the winds we get. If we get something a little bit stronger, they might go ahead and extend this warning. If not, maybe they don't extend this warning. We'll just kind of have to wait and see. So, again, just trying to keep you guys safe, trying to keep you guys informed here on the situation. Ooh, okay, we just got a report of a funnel cloud now. That's what it's showing, at least on the report from Tallahassee Airport. There's a report of a funnel cloud. Okay, now let me see if I can get some traffic camera up. That could be from just a couple minutes ago because sometimes those reports are coming a little delayed. But let me see if I can get a traffic camera up as close as I can toward the airport. And we do have some in that vicinity. I'll pull up one. This doesn't really look at the sky very good, but let me go ahead and pull it on in. We don't have any tornado warning. Not saying we'll get one, but Capitol Circle Southwest and Spring Hill Road, a funnel cloud of the tornado, that may be trying to form, but it's not actually a tornado because the rotation is above the surface. So, again, Capitol Circle Southwest and Spring Hill Road, you can't really see the sky, so let me jump away from this, see if we have any more cameras that might be able to see the sky there in toward that area. We have one. Is it in the right direction, though? Not sure that it is, but we'll go ahead and pull it up anyway. See if we can see anything on this. I think it's looking more to the north. It's definitely wet out there. See some movement in the clouds, but that's not indicative of a funnel necessarily. Kind of see a little something if you look real closely there. There may be a little something there. That could just be an illusion as well. Let me go ahead and jump away from this. Let's see if we can see the rotation. It'll be right at the radar like that. It makes it hard. The sensor, report showing that funnel cloud. It's got a Capitol Circle Southwest and Crawfordville Road. We'll pull this up. Trying to give you a visual there. With these storms, how they kind of evolve in the summertime, you can get a quick funnel cloud. It's also at least possible. Sometimes you'll get these sensors here, maybe not necessarily Tallahassee because that's a bigger area. Sometimes these sensors will report weird stuff, especially like in winter time. I can actually show it to you now on our other source, though, the funnel cloud reported on the METAR. So Tallahassee Airport, it was 8 past. Okay, so it came in on my system here from the sensor at 11 past. So by then it could have already broke up. But at 8 past, they reported a funnel cloud. You see that little tornado icon? That's what that's indicative of there. That there was apparently a funnel cloud spotted from the airport there within the heavy thunderstorm activity. So, half-mile visibility, gust there 37 knots. I know you can't see all that, Let me see here if I can do something a little different. Well, no, let me not switch over. But you can only see the icon here. You can see the icon at least. I'll put my marker on this real quick and then I'll take it away and you can see that little icon. It's indicative of a funnel cloud being reported at Tallahassee Airport. So, a little bit interesting there. I have some severe action and this lightning here across different parts of the region. Okay, so it looked like the severe thunderstorm warning, at least for a moment, went away around Tallahassee. But now toward Jackson, we have this flash flood warning here that's in play. 1-2 inches in the last hour. They're starting to break up some, though, right in the metro. Okay, they're going to an advisory other than a warning for Tallahassee now. And you know what? I wonder when that red showed up in rotation tracker, because that could be kind of around the time we had that funnel cloud reported. Hopefully it didn't touch the ground, because that would make it a quick, brief tornado touchdown. But batten this up a little. Sometimes we get weird system, indicators here on rotation tracker. That was at, okay, a little bit earlier, maybe around, go ahead and put this forward again. Let me go all the way past, and then I need to go back again. I know it's kind of weird when we have to scrub like this, but yeah, around 50 past or so we had something. So up there, let me see if I can spot it in velocity. That seems a little bit, not timed out properly, but sometimes we get weird signatures, but I don't necessarily see it in velocity, but it's right at the radar though. So again, just continuing to give you guys the very latest. Watching the velocity around Duval. Not seeing too much right now to the north. Around Folkestone, there's a lot more wind energy per se. Just have to watch here. You have all that electrical energy. Just trying to keep up to date on it. We'll probably wrap it up pretty soon unless we see something here that requires us to stay on a little bit longer, some type of signature, some type of new warning. But again, thanks so much for tuning in and trusting me here on this Monday afternoon. Tracking that North Florida, South Florida weather. I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center on all these different platforms. I don't see any questions or comments right now, but thank you so much for tuning in here. You see some of this wind around Folkestone. This is off toward eastern Charlton County. Back to Leon County we go. Some of this lightning around there. Some wind enhancement at Southwest and Midway. I'm going to go ahead and pull up our other mode here. We have just a little bit of supercell composite today, so that's indicative of some rotation potential. Now sometimes these boundaries interact and can just do it here this time of year anyway. I know the warmer air, we've had instability in play, that purple indicating more of that as we're looking and as we're tracking here. Just have to be very mindful of what's going on here in this pattern. And we still have just the one warning remaining here toward Duval. As we get toward the north of the marginal risk of severe weather in play today, parts of Missouri, Illinois, and the like. And Could get a watch there up toward Kansas City over or Quincy, Peoria, but probably not going to happen. 5% chance of it. So as we go ahead and look back to the south, this time of year, you don't need a full moon risk. You don't need even a dark area here of green on our map to get, severe warnings. We can get it without that. We've had a couple today. Flash flood warnings of a thunderstorm warning. And even maybe some rotation with some of these. As this happens here in this pattern at the end of June, we're in that summertime mode, summertime period. You just got to remain alert here for rapidly changing weather conditions. You see the lightning, you see our one flash flood warning still under Duval. Let me go ahead and pull up the American model for the 4th of July right now. I'm going to pull it up and see what it's showing. The latest run to 12Z. See what we could be getting in terms of precip. This is like 96 hours, a little less out here. This is early in the morning on that 4th. Now the lightning, the warning, that's current reports. Current, but the radar type look, which in this case is simulated radar. This is from 8 a.m. on that Friday. You see 11 a.m., 2 p.m., 5 p.m., 8 p.m., 11 p.m. So we see precip kind of be a nuisance possibly. 6-hour totals here on the estimates. So, between a third and maybe, 3/4 of an inch over parts of Bradford County. Very far out. But between let's do the math here, 5 p.m. and 11 p.m., that rain could end up clustering toward I-75 and US 301, but it's too early to know for sure. But you got to monitor it very carefully. That could end up being a problem and, disrupting some plans. Let's go ahead and get into word that Saturday now. A lot of folks have plans for that Saturday. 2 p.m., 5 p.m., 8 p.m., 11 p.m. You saw maybe not quite as much around, but still an issue here. This is 6-hour totals, and that dark green indicative of around a half inch run start between 5 and 11. It looked like it broke up a little bit earlier on that one run for Saturday, that dark blue. Well, we're talking about, maybe closer to 3/4 of an inch, give or take, as we're looking at things. Again, 4th of July forecast is when everybody's outside, probably about the most, folks maybe are outside the whole year in some cases here. And that weather's so important. If it's not about the storms, it's about heat, safety, staying cool from the heat. So, again, just trying to keep you guys up to date here on the weather situation, on the weather scenario. And just looking at all of our different systems. Again, just trying to inform you here on what's going on and what's happening. It's so important to do that. Very, very important. I know we're going to be watching the tropics. 20% chance of some development later in the week here. And if that were to actually get named, which is a big if, 20% chance it even becomes like a subtropical or tropical depression, but it could if it becomes a storm, then, it would probably become Chantal. We had very earlier on, fell for, but nonetheless, probably going to have increased rain chances toward the local area toward the 4th of July, but it's not a guarantee yet. If something develops there a little bit earlier on and maybe pushes away or it kind of coalesces here, maybe toward one part of the area than the other part of the area. It might not have as much rain as you would generally anticipate. So could have Chantal here later in the week, but that would be a tropical storm, the C name on the list, but 20% chance right now of development. That didn't even mean it would become, strong enough to have those 30 mile-an-hour plus sustained winds, but it's a possibility. So we're going to keep watching. Didn't see a lot of organization, by the way, in that modeling for our area Friday and Saturday. That was not showing a tropical system there. It did not appear for Friday, Saturday in our direct area, but we'll have to watch. Things can change. We have a lot of uncertainty 96 hours or so out. So that's going to do it, I think, for now on this update. I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center. Flash flood warning still for Duval for about another 50 minutes or so. And that severe thunderstorm warning went away for Leon. Let's check rotation tracker. Oh, there's a little bit of rotation in western Leon. Let's go ahead and pull that up here on velocity to make sure we're not getting close to needing another warning out here. I know this time of year things can happen quick. and sometimes they're right on the edge of needing a warning anyway. So, you know, depending on what happens, if it's a severe thunderstorm warning for the west of Tallahassee, it might just post about it on Facebook and Twitter/X. But obviously, a tornado warning, we'd have to jump in immediately, no matter where it is in our covered area, whether it's the most rural or the most urban part of our region. That's our policy, has been that way since late 2019. We've been on through every single one of the tornado warning storms that have moved, through our viewing area. So, seeing some of that lightning there right around State Road 20. Whenever thunder roars going towards, that's another thing. You don't have to have, just maybe a severe warning to have danger from the lightning. I mean, rain can disrupt 4th of July plans even without the lightning, but the lightning's a problem. That's a bigger problem than the rain, but rain, it can be a problem, but the heat can be a problem too. It's about finding that right balance here, in the timeline, getting, a situation here where you have that rain that's not, maybe in that time frame when you have all those big plans. You'd rather have a cool air with the Saturday before all that, but really, the heat, is more, prevalent in years past here. Generally on the 4th of July, and you just got to make sure you're practicing the heat. Safety tips by staying cool, by drinking plenty of water, avoiding, these outdoor activities there in that direct sunlight at peak heating and the like. I know you just got to be really cognizant of that. You got to be really careful here. That's something that's a little bit easier sometimes to deal with than the storm accent, but that's a hidden hazard here too. So, really be watching that forecast toward that holiday weekend, Friday and Saturday. So many folks have 4th of July plans across our area, whether it's in Stark or in other parts of our region. So really be careful here. And we're going to keep an eye on the weather for that. Right now, we only have one formal warning left. It's a flash flood warning for Duval. We'll keep you guys up to date and pop back in if needed. But we're going to go ahead and wrap the stream up now. For now, I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center. Stay safe and try to enjoy things here. In some cases, some folks, cases it's a week where you have it all off. So just try to enjoy things, in between the storms and in between the heat. Sometimes you have to stay indoors, but other times you can be outside and enjoy things.